Thank you for joining us today on the Public Voice Salon. And today we have a very special show. Claudia and I are going to go visit our friends at the Politics for a Human Community, also known as PHC, Politics for a Human Community. It's based in New York City, and it's a group of people who get together to talk about the important issues of the day, the politics, but also in a spiritual context, trying to create a world that's more loving, that's more caring, that's more kind. And I've been involved with this group for about 10 years. It's had a really positive impact on my own life. And it reminds me of Jürgen Habermas, who's a German philosopher who talks a lot about the need of a public sphere, which is that place that's not the family and not the workplace, but an in-between place where very often at a coffee shop or a public square where people can discuss the issues of the day and figure out what they mean to them. And in particular, in a democratic society, you need to have this. You need to have a space where the citizens can come together and discuss things. And but aside from that, it goes much deeper also. This emerges from the politics of meaning movement that Michael Lerner started. Michael Lerner is a philosopher, a rabbi, and a psychotherapist. And so the idea is that we can live in a world that is more loving and more kind, and we could actually have a new bottom line in this society in which unlike our current bottom line, which seeks only to maximize money and power, a new bottom line would maximize generosity, kindness, ecological sensitivity, these kind of things, and a sense of awe and wonder at the beauty and amazement of the natural world. So these are the kind of visions, these are the kind of values that this group stands for. And I think if you want to grow in these ideas, you really have to talk about them. And it's very important that people who are progressives, people who consider themselves on the left, need to have these dialogues and be in connection, be in community, be in a space that's interconnected. And because we also grow stronger and we learn how to articulate these things to a larger public so that we can eventually build a society that's more fair, that's more just. And so we are about to move out here. And again, I can't tell you how grateful I am to be part of this group, the PHC, the Politics for Human Community, a group of New York intellectuals who I first encountered back in 2000 at Riverside Church when Michael Lerner, who wrote this book, The Politics of Meaning, I'll show it right here, and the subtitle is Restoring Hope and Possibility in an Age of Cynicism. Michael Lerner was also a very good friend of the Clintons in the early Clinton White House back in 1993, back when the man from Hope was still genuinely hopeful before he stopped thinking about tomorrow and listened to Dick Morris and moved way over to the right. Bill Clinton was percolating with some genuine hopes that he was going to restore a kind of 1960s vision of a world of possibilities, and but that didn't turn out that way. But while he was still in that hopeful mode, he was very much a friend of Michael Lerner's. Michael Lerner would frequently spend time at the Clinton White House and have dinner there, giving advice to Bill and Hillary. And it's very interesting, at the very first speech that Hillary Clinton made as vice president, as first lady, came right out of Michael Lerner's thinking and his ideas. She quoted, basically right from The Politics of Meaning, and as a result, the right wing went crazy. Rush Limbaugh devoted a whole chapter in his book to denouncing this Jewish rabbi. It was an anti-Semitic attack, who had, they say, he said that he had a beaded skull cap and was a hippie and all that kind of thing. And as a result, the Clintons pushed out Michael Lerner, but luckily Lerner did not go away. He continued to organize. He created the Network of Spiritual Progressives, which I'm a part of, and he helped to inspire my friends Bertram Miller and Rhea Gebra, who co-founded the Politics for Human Community, which is now 10 years old, and we are going to Chelsea, New York, to the Penn South housing building, which was originally built by the Garment Workers Union, and it's got a lot of intellectual life there. There was some socialist activity there years ago, and it's really the best in terms of historically what the New York left is all about. So we're heading out there now. We're in the lovely apartment of Rhea and Renan Gerberer at Penn South in Chelsea, and we have people in this room who are just amazing thinkers, caring people, visionary people, artistic people gathered together. And in the course of our discussion, if anybody wants to say anything, please, let me know. I'm wearing my PHC button. I want everyone to see this. This is so Bertram, our founder, one of our co-founder there. You'll be happy about that. And if you could see that button, it shows you people holding hands around the world, different people, different races, different gender and ethnic backgrounds in a community. This is a community here, and I'm just so happy to be a part of it. And we're going to begin our dialogue today with a member of PHC from the beginning, Renan Gerberer. And just, Renan, what are some of your thoughts and reflections on PHC? This is now 10 years in the making, and what are your thoughts on this special day?
Well, I think of it more than an organization. It's more like you once described as a think tank, and I would basically agree. It's a place where people develop ideas. It started about 10 years ago. Since then, different people have gone in and out of it, but a certain core group remains. It does have a certain orientation, but people are welcome regardless of their opinions on things.
So this is a group that's spiritual and political, and let's look at this wonderful painting that our member Deborah Lewis had, just so fabulous, who also was an art teacher at PS 41. Amplify the bohemian nature, the artistic, intellectual energy of Greenwich Village at its heyday. And she made this beautiful painting to celebrate our 10-year anniversary. And we're trying to shatter the silences in our country. We're trying to shatter the silences in our neighborhoods. We're not used to a media that talks about love, that talks about caring. Yes, Renan, yes.
I'd like to say one more thing, and then I'll hand this over to other people. Right. I just want to say that it's particularly apropos in a sense that we're in Penn South, or residents. We're leftists of various types. I don't always agree with that old type of leftism, but what I'm saying is that Penn South is a place where ideas which are not especially mainstream are welcome, and things that are not necessarily conventional have always been welcome from the very beginning. Okay.
The Garment Workers Union, and they were actually a communist union. They were very strong.
That's not true at all. Okay, they were a socialist union. There was a communist faction. They were never able to gain control. Many of these old hated communism. So that's a common misconception that socialism and communism are the same thing.
Well, thank you for correcting me. And Renan has so much historical knowledge and cultural knowledge, which is one of the reasons our meetings are always so lively and interesting, because you get a mix of culture and politics and spirituality, and it's very caring. And Renan, you're one of the key members of our group, and I'm really appreciative of your,
Thank you. And since this place was founded by the Garment Workers Union, and I'm not a garment worker, but since I live here, I want everyone to know that for every shirt that's sold in the United States, I personally get a 5-cent royalty on every shirt that's sold in the States.
Okay. And also, Renan is a wonderful writer. He's a novelist. Maybe later on, Renan could talk about some of his writing, and also Renan's a musician, and if you could maybe, be so kind as to share a song with us, would be nice later too. But I'm going to move over here to our founder, our co-founder, Bertram Miller, and I'm just going to move over here. I think I'll put the painting. Bertram, you want to hold the microphone?
Oh,
Hold the microphone. I'm going to move the painting. See, we do this in a community here, okay? I think we'll put the painting here. Claudia, maybe you could just take a look at the painting. Take a look at a close-up of that beautiful painting. And as you can see, this represents all of us as members of the Politics for a Human Community. We meet once a month, sometimes actually twice a month at diners in New York City, places like the Moonstruck Diner in Chelsea, a fabulous diner. You get great food there. You get, matzo ball soup and all that, classic diner food, egg creams and all that, and being with friendly people, caring people, an oasis of humanity, and a world that's become so hyper-competitive and so cruel. And this is better than therapy. I want to know, what do I owe you for therapy? Because I'm serious. 10 years I've been coming to this group, and it's very grounding, and it gives me hope for a world that might be. It's helped me to find my voice. If it wasn't for this group, we wouldn't have a television show, which I co-produce with my wife Claudia, who's filming me now. And without her love, I wouldn't be able to do this either. So love is really the key. Love is the key ingredient in our world. And Bertram, I want you to talk as long as you want, because we love to hear you talk. And Bertram begins. There are actually three major meetings every month. There is a community support circle, in which you'll talk a little bit more about that, which we share our thoughts and feelings and our emotions and what's going on in our lives. There is a political discussion where we can go as deep into the politics as we'd like to. And then there is a general membership meeting where we actually have resolutions that we pass on the major issues of the day. But Bertram, we love you. We love what you're doing here. It's just incredible. The world is a much better place already because of you and because of the co-founder Ria. This lovely, sweet person is smiling at me now with her energy and her warmth. Just being in the room, we love you, Ria. We love you so much. I want you to show Ria, the co-founder. Everybody, a big hand for Ria, because Ria is the co-founder. She lives here with Renan in this lovely apartment, and your sweet soul and your sharp intellect. But she's so humble. She doesn't want to, take the spotlight and leave it for a ham like me. And But Bertram, again, congratulations. Thank you for this group, and tell America and tell the world why PHC matters.
Thank you. Okay. Well, that's such a fundamental part of our group, the Community Support Circle, and one of the key aspects of it is a needs and offerings portion, in which we actually do offer things that we might be able to do for others, and express needs, which unfortunately is so ingrained in a society like this. We believe that when we do something for someone else, ultimately we'll get back as much or more than we've given. This concept and the CSC itself came from Ria, and are things that we very much owe to her, and it's a way to try to model or prefigure the world that we want to see ultimately on a much wider basis. We think that this is the way the world should be, and that is what should be. It should be about community and helping each other, and trying to maximize our not our profits by any means, but our lives, to make them the fullest and the happiest that they can be. And we don't believe that comes from money or status in any hierarchy, but rather through community and through interconnection, both in small groups and with the assumption that that's true of what it means to be human worldwide. And so we try not just to talk about that, but to the extent we can, we try to live it. And the CSC is one of the key places we do that. We also have several times a year where we do food giveaways at a local homeless shelter for homeless men, where we always have some nice interactions with them. And I think it's important to be able to remind people like that in that situation that they are not alone, that they're still part of a broader community, and that people haven't forgotten about them. We also do various picnics and get-togethers and go to see films together at various times, as much as we possibly can. Sometimes the whole group, sometimes a few members of the group, and again with the idea of community building and trying to have in our own lives, prefigure in our own lives the type of world that we want to see in general. And of course, as you said, we also have the discussion group where we can talk about these things in some detail, with a sense of being with like-minded people, not necessarily exactly the same, but with the general types of left and progressive ideas that I'm talking about. And the general membership meeting tries to both do the resolutions as you spoke about, and also plan out what we might do in the future to continue to try to broaden these actions and these commitments, and to have more effect on the world if we can.
Yes, Bertram, very well spoken as always, and you're thinking about putting this into a larger political context. Margaret Thatcher once, and you like to quote this a lot, once famously said that there's no such thing as a community. There's only the workforce and the family.
The individual.
And the individual and the family. And I think everything about this group is a critique of that, just the fact that we're a community. And also I want people to know that Bertram was a student of two wonderful teachers. One, her name Frances Fox Piven, okay, and Piven became famous or infamous about a couple of years ago when Glenn Beck demonized her just about every day on his radio show and TV show. Well, you don't hear much from Glenn Beck these days, and it's when you see these crazy right-wing loonies, go after somebody, usually it's because they're saying something of importance that they're threatened by, and Frances Fox Piven, one of the great intellectuals of our time, you had a chance to be her student. You were also a student of Bertell Ullman, who was one of the leading Marxist scholars of our time, and Bertram got an A in Ullman's class, and our colleague Sean Hannity over at Fox got a C in Ullman's class. So we're happy to be hanging out with you, Bertram, and not Sean Hannity.
So I would say it was a gentleman's C.
Okay, a gentleman's C, right. He should have got a worse grade. Anyway, if anybody else in the room has any thoughts to share, any comments about this fabulous day, it's okay. You don't have to say anything, but we're here. And again, Bertram, what are some of the specific political arguments, though? Do you think our country is going too far to the right now? How can we get back to that 1960s spirit when people did talk about love and peace?
Well, it's you asked that question at a rather sad time, because we're in a situation right now in which we're seeing things that, in terms of civil liberties, we didn't dream of seeing. We feared them. We saw a lot written about these types of things during Watergate, but we thought that with the defeat of Nixon and with the church committee hearings and the reforms at that time, that we had slayed the monster in terms of the threats to civil liberties. Instead, what we're seeing is that a president who ran as a constitutional lawyer, who was going to protect civil liberties that had come so under threat during the Bush era, has instead done things like sign the NDAA bill that essentially allows the government to arrest and detain people without due process. He's claimed the right and acted on that right to assassinate American citizens, which he himself has now said that he's done at least 4 separate times without due process using drones. He had promised to close Guantanamo. It's not the kind of society that I think any of us want to live in, and the dangers of living in a society like that are things that I don't think we really want to face.
Well, and I think we need to be hopeful, and I think this group represents hope that we could come together and articulate these things. Cornel West, who is the co-founder of the NSP, the Network of Spiritual Progressives, which is a group that we're very sympathetic to, that I'm also a member of, has been very critical sharply critical of Obama lately on these issues. And I want to bring some other people involved. Renan, you want to come back in, Renan? I want to get more dialogical here. Because one of the things about this group is that we have differences of opinion, which is very healthy and very good. And Renan and Bertram, at times, they don't always see eye to eye, but it does add friction. It does add, some juice, as they say, to the meeting. And I want maybe Renan could sit on that chair. We could just move that painting over, and Renan could sit there. And earlier we were having a discussion about why the country moved to the right, and you can go back to some of those themes, Renan, and talk to our audience about what's your analysis of our political situation, why we've come so far away from that ideals percolating in the 1960s that still represents.
Well, I think the leftists of the 60s the whole 60s movement, I think, was too fast in too short a time. I think too fast, too much. And, it was too much for people, especially older people, to assimilate. It just was too radical a change. If the same changes had been going on over a 20-year period, people would be able to accept it. I think Reagan, to many people, promised a return to normalcy. And I think many people just freaked down of authority. Remember, a lot of these same people weren't necessarily opposed in favor of the Vietnam War. Many of them were opposed to it, but they still had a negative impression of the protesters. Many of them are probably in favor of civil rights, but they still had a bad impression of the rioters. The question is not why Reagan happened. Reagan was, 35, God knows how many years ago. Who knows, 33 years ago, whatever. The question is why we haven't swung back, because in the past, the political pendulum swings back and forth, over a 20 or 30-year period. Since the Reagan era, it seems stuck in one phase, and it's a lot of time. I have no idea why the only break from it might have been President Clinton. I don't consider him really truly liberal. I don't hate him, but he's more of a centrist. The question is why the pendulum has not swung back as it has in past times. Why we're stuck in one phase, and I don't pretend to have the answer.
Well, thank you, Renan. And also, Renan is a writer. Renan is an editor of the Brooklyn Eagle, which is founded by Walt Whitman. So, in effect, Renan is the successor to Walt Whitman. Okay, author of books like The Diner Under the L, which, a bunch of guys hanging out at the diner and talking and having a sense of community. So in effect, your own writings has exemplified this sense of community. But we also have a couple here from Brooklyn who make buttons, and they made I want to honor them because they made my button when I ran for president last year. If it wasn't for their button, my candidacy would have went nowhere, okay? So I want to honor them that they're here today, and if they wanted to say something, something they're certainly welcome to. Anybody in the room, we have Rita there, appointed political theorist and professor of political science. We have academics, we have intellectuals, we have caring people, we have artists, and you hold them all together, Bertram. How do you do this? You know, talk a little bit about the diner. What does it mean to have these discussions, these diner discussions, and how important is it for people to get together face to face? That's another diner. I want to
Yes.
get back to that diner too.
That doesn't exist.
That's a fictional diner. Okay.
Well,
Tell Rita to come in.
the discussion group, when we started it, we actually tried to do the first 1 or 2 sessions in this atrium on 42nd Street, more or less opposite Grand Central Station, but it didn't work there because we couldn't really hear each other. There was too much of an echo, there was too much noise, ambient noise in general. So we thought we would try a diner, and it seemed like that was the perfect spot. When we found diners that would allow us to stay there for a few hours, which happily we've done, and just talk among ourselves and do so over dinner twice a month and then once a month over lunch. It seems like it results in some really good discussions and good exchanges. People seem to be able to relax with each other, maybe because it's over food. And the atmosphere always seems to be pretty congenial and mellow. So I've always found that it was the right decision to take it to diners, and we've been very lucky with it. And I think the main thing is that we have people who have some commitment to these ideas of belief in democracy and social and economic justice, and also trying to do what Michael Lerner calls tikkun olam, healing the world. And when you combine all those things, then we seem to have some really good results.
Wow. You know, we were talking earlier about Robert Putnam and Zanella and how people are becoming more alienated and isolated. And being together in the diner, just being together, you know, and having these discussions and learning to think out loud. Conversation is a thinking process. It's a dialectical process. We find our voices in community with each other. Like Martin Buber said, you know, I and thou, we're turning toward each other. And what I love is in the diner, when we're having these discussions, as people walk by to go to the bathroom or back and forth, they're hearing things. They're getting, not only are they getting the information that we're putting out, but they're getting our way of being together. And I notice a lot of people give like a second look, like, wow, what is that? These people, like, there's a kind of a sense of deep connection that we've you know, developed over time. And I think those watching at home, we want you to be all a part of this, you know. A few times Christine Quinn has been at the Moonstruck Diner a few tables down, and I'm hoping that she hears our discussion, that maybe she'll get some education, you know, because we all need education, even the elites, even the powers that be, even rich people like the Trumps of the world. I think their educations are limited by what they studied. And I know I have been so privileged and lucky to be part of this group. It's just this fabulous group, and it makes me feel like I belong somewhere, you know. It's helped to ground my pedagogy, my teaching. Okay, philosophy has grown with this group. The first author I ever knew personally was Renan. Maybe Renan could come and play a little tune for us, get a little music here. How about a little cheer? How about on 3, we're going to say, PHC for you and me, okay? 1, 2, 3.
PHC for you and me. PHC for you and me. PHC for you and me.
Woo! You and me, yay! And now Renan, okay, Renan's going to play a little music for us in a second, but first, Celeste has a few words for us. Yes. Celeste, why don't you come over here? Celeste is she's one of our great intellectual minds in our group, okay? Having science at NYU, and she always has something very interesting to say. And what are your thoughts tonight on the 10-year anniversary of PHC, and what has it meant to you? How long have you been involved with PHC?
It's probably about 2.5 years or so. I'm not sure now. We came in because of Jean Sheffer. She used to belong to the Brooklyn Society for Ethical Culture, where we belonged for a number of years. And when we broke away and started our own group, she mentioned this to us. She specifically was trying to aim us at becoming friendly with Bertram and Leah because we don't live so far apart. And we started coming to meetings and found it very copacetic. So we've stayed, and we're very happy that we've stayed. I wanted to say two things. One is that this is a really special group. Really, there's an attempt to deal with each other on a personal level and not only political. I do think that we shouldn't despair of community in America. There's lots of it. It's not unified around a purpose. Definitely there. I work for the New York City Gay Men's Chorus and Youth Pride Chorus, and I can tell you that aside from just singing, the New York City Gay Men's Chorus is a community, is a family. The members look out for each other, support each other. If someone's sick, if someone dies, if someone's happily marrying, they come out in support of each other, and they come to the hospital. They'll go feed somebody's dog. All of the things that we talk about doing at that community group that we have on the first Friday of every month, they do this for each other. I've also seen, we just recently spent a few days out in Creston, Iowa, which is a tiny town in middle America, what they call the flyover states. We were there for our son Jason's wedding, and there's plenty of community going on in that town. Somebody has a problem, people get together and hold a fundraiser and help them out. There was a kid who had leukemia, needed chemo, couldn't afford it, probably didn't have health insurance, a whole other issue. The community got together, raised the money. When Jason and his now husband Josiah were leaving New York, Josiah's mother ran a fundraiser and got the money together to bring them both out there. So there is definitely community in America. It's not gone. It's just that it's not unified around some of the causes that we really need to work on. There are plenty of groups working on individual causes. There has to be something where it comes together and everybody's helping each other.
Wow.
As far as the buttons, yeah, we're trying to make a living. Bruce has been out of a steady job since 2009. He's had a few jobs that didn't last. The economy's been crap, and still is. I don't care that the stock market is rising. That's so what. But we started putting together a button business, and a lot of our purpose has to do with spreading the ideas that are expressed here and that are our own personal values. We will not make buttons for the right wing. We will not make buttons for those pseudo-Christians who are only interested in bashing gay people and in preventing women from having health care. We will not make buttons for those people. We will make buttons for people we agree with and even maybe don't agree 100% with, but as long as they're towards the left. So we're a button company that has a social conscience, and we hope that we're contributing to a better world that way.
You are, and you made my button when I ran for president. And even though I didn't get any votes, I still thank you for the button.
Vote for yourself?
I didn't vote for myself either. I was very ambivalent about my campaign. But anyway, I want to thank you for your wonderful contributions to this group, Celeste. And also, Celeste has worked with Grit TV and Laura Flanders in the past, so I'm glad to see you reconnecting with the progressive media here, to get our voices out there. And I see Susan just brought out the watermelons. The watermelons are going around. I see Leah back there. Now, I want to just say that Leah, Bertram's wife, lovely wife Leah, who is a deep psychological thinker, and her psychological critiques are also very, very valuable to our group. How about a little culture now? Because we are a cultural group as well as politics. We have the best-selling author Renan Gerberer, and also a great musician. He's over there at the organ. Renan, you want to give us a tune or something appropriate to today? What would be appropriate? Hold on. Wait a minute, Renan. Wait. Get the microphone first. Okay, yeah.
I never thought of
Wait a minute.
myself.
Wait. Get the microphone.
Okay. I am not much of a singer, and I never thought of myself as that great a pianist to be a solo pianist.
Okay.
I have played piano and also occasionally bass guitar with various rock groups, beginning in the 70s with a now forgotten group called the Bronx River, graduating in the late 70s to another now forgotten group called Savvy, which is the official rock group of Greater New York Mensa, graduating to a backyard group that was so obscure in the mid-'80s. It was so obscure, played in someone's backyard. I don't remember the name of the group or the name of any of the people who were in it. But then I was fortunate to get with a real group. It's called the Voles in the mid-2000s and broke up around 2010. We were not professional by any means, but I finally got the chance to play some of the music I liked with people whose musical abilities that I liked and respected, and who I shared a like of certain kind of music with. Perhaps I'll get into it again someday. Perhaps I won't. So if you want me to play something, I'll just
Just a quick tune. And also, Renan is a graduate of the Bronx High School of Science, one of the great high schools of our country.
That's true. Although, if in those days there was a school devoted to the social sciences, I would have gone there. I only went to science because I didn't want to go to Clinton, which was one of the toughest schools in the city back in those days, where I would have had to go had I not gone to science.
And then Syracuse University, where you studied. Oh, Binghamton, I'm sorry, where you studied.
Binghamton is not as classy a town as Syracuse. Binghamton is like, I won't make any comments on it.
And what did you study there?
I studied history there.
Oh, that figures.
And then I studied journalism at Boston University. I also have half a master's in education from the SUNY Empire State College, but as I was about to complete it, the city under Mayor Bloomberg slapped a freeze on all new teachers except in a few subjects, and as such I was frozen out. So here I am. Okay.
Ran the camera around and captured this beautiful apartment in Penn South. It's so well decorated, and it's very cultural space to be in. There's lots of books on the wall. There's wonderful paintings, and I'm just a hick from Jersey. I'm just happy to be here. That I'm happy that all you big shot New York intellectuals just let me be around you. That's all. I'm happy. Okay. I'll come back here.
Not singing.
Okay. As we continue the fabulous celebration of PHC's 10-year anniversary, America, you don't know what you're missing, but hopefully you will learn from the show and learn from what we do at PHC and come on to New York. No, New York is not just about hedge funds. New York is not just about the Bloomberg people and all that high finance stuff. New York is about culture. New York is about history. It's about caring people. It's about bohemia.
It's the most unionized city in the country. Yep.
You hear that? New York, the most unionized city in the country, and we kept Walmart out. I say we. I live in Hoboken, but I consider myself a New Yorker. Because it's the New York City metro area, and Walmart, tried to get here in New York, and they were kept out. Activists we have like Reverend Billy and the Church of Stop Shopping. Judson Church is a wonderful church. Brooklyn, we have Brooklyn activists in the house. Brooklyn for Peace is a great organization. But all of you, your spirit, your being in this room, your intelligence, the history we've had with you is just so valuable, and we love you all. And so Bertram, what are your thoughts? Go back to the man of the hour here, this is it, Bertram. This is your moment. 10 years, okay? What are your thoughts? I mean, this is incredible.
Well,
Yes.
I just feel very grateful to everyone for continuing to be part of PHC, certainly for continuing to be part of my life, and trying to do something important to try to stand for the kind of progressive goals that a lot of organizations have, democracy, economic and social equality, and that sort of thing. But also this thought of tikkun olam and trying to change a culture that is so damagingly oriented toward an individualism that I think to us just doesn't make sense.
Yes.
A kind of cult of individualism that we don't believe in, and we want to change.
One of the things, when you speak at the beginning of our community support circle, you make a little speech that's wonderful. It's a powerful speech that I wish every American could hear, like an FDR fireside chat, and where you talk about Margaret Thatcher and how she didn't think there was such a thing as a community. Maybe you can sort of give as best a version as you can of that speech. It's very important to the American people watching us.
Well, thank you. It's at least in part something like what I was just mentioning a moment ago, which is that as PHC we have a viewpoint on the world that certainly would be familiar to people who have had any contact with progressive politics of any type. We do stand for democracy in a very deep way. We do stand for ending social inequality, for ameliorating on some very deep levels economic inequality, for getting rid to the maximum extent possible of hierarchies, that sort of thing. But we also this belief, this evaluation of our society that one of the worst parts of it is not just the usual assaults on democracy or on equality, but rather that the society can be crazy making, that it is so deeply against what it means to be human to try to tell us, as you say, that there's no such thing as the community, only the individual and the family, to create this cult of individualism, and that this has to be, to the extent we can, opposed, and a different way of life modeled, so that we could start on the road to changing these. One of the big losses on the left is that major left parties used to have not just political aspects, but were also prime social gathering places almost on a daily basis for people coming home from work. Those don't exist anymore. Unions did that, socialist parties did that, communist parties did that. even a certain type of Tammany Hall sort of Democratic Party did that. All of that has gone away for various reasons. I think we need a left that offers not just us an agenda for change, but also offers that party or that grouping, and then tries to expand that into the wider world.
Absolutely, and I want to just say a few things about that. Could somebody hold up that painting, Deborah's wonderful PHC painting, and Claudia, maybe we could take another look at this. And I think it's so essential for people to be together, especially now when they're under this relentless assault, being propagandized to by a media that's now completely corporate controlled, and they need to be in community, need to be in connection. Bertram, a few final thoughts.
The only final thought is that we're doing this because we can't live that way. We don't want to live that way, and there is a better way. And we've seen it in the past under FDR. Wasn't perfect, but it was better. Things could be made better again, and even better than that. History hasn't stopped, unlike what Francis Fukuyama says. And if you believe that change is inevitable, then the way to go is to do what you can to direct the course of change so that it's healthy and good for human beings, rather than damaging and crazy making.
How about a little imagine? Imagine all possessions. It isn't hard to do. Oh, actually, no, Michael Lerner has a version of that. He doesn't say in all religion too. He says something else. There's a new version of Imagine that Michael Lerner, he actually has some new words for it. Yeah. I can't think of those words right now. Songs like Imagine really give us that spirit, that John Lennon had. And we want to give people hope, that we, like Bertram said, we can't continue to live like this.
Grateful that Rhea first told me about the politics of meaning, and that I've had the chance to be in a group that has tried to advance those beliefs, and we're going to keep trying.
Yes. And Bert, could you hand me those two sort of logos there, the PHC logos? And I just want to show these up to the camera. This is the PHC motto here, the logo.
That was done by, actually that was mostly done by Deborah back in 2000.
Deborah Lewis.
Yes, Deborah Lewis. And then much more recently, she's made this really extraordinary, beautiful sketch of this dove and the PHC logo there. She's a great artist, as you can see, and it's really beautiful. So I always, whenever there's an event, I try to have actually both these posters out there. We're lucky to have them and to have an artist like Deborah with us.
You're here. And when you think of all the violence going on in the world, when you think of all the warfare, when you think of the 20th century being such a bloody century, we're just new in our brand new century. Hopefully this won't be as bloody as the last century. The idea of peace, the idea of outlawing war, the idea, after World War I, John Dewey was part of a group. They actually wanted to outlaw war. And nobody's saying these things. Nobody in the Democratic Party, nobody in the Republican Party. We need to create a cabinet-level Department of Peace. Dennis Kucinich has proposed this. Dennis Kucinich also proposed an amendment to the Constitution called the ESRA, the Environmental and Social Responsibility Amendment, which would say corporations have to be ethical by law or have their charters revoked. And I'm glad the American people get to see this. And for the next 10 years, let's go onward and upward. And a big hand for politics, for human community. We love everybody here in the room. And we're going to bring love to America and peace. And, oh, yes, Celeste, the final thought.
Yeah. Okay. I just wanted to say we mentioned the song Imagine before. Yes. And that's one of the songs that gives me hope. But there are two other things. One is the song Get Together by the Youngbloods, which has always been my favorite song ever. And the other is a book by Jane Goodall, the famous primatologist, called Reason for Hope, which is her spiritual journey. And I am looking forward to the day when PHC becomes too big to fit in the diner.
Oh my God, it's coming. And also, I want to say, I want one song. Can I throw one more song in, Claudia? Come Together was a song originally sung for Timothy Leary's campaign against Ronald Reagan for governor. And here come old Flat Top, he come, grooving up slowly, he won, Juju eyeballs, he's one, holy roller, he's got feet down to his knees. Got to be a joker, he just do what he please. Peace and love to everybody. Come together to PHC. Come together for peace and love and a better America. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Welcome back. I'm really glad that you got to see our celebration of this group, the Politics for Human Community. And also, I feel very honored to be able to share that with you, with the public, to show you how this kind of, dialogue works, how people get together and share their thoughts about the political situation, what's going on in the country, and also we share our feelings about each other. So it really is a group that's very therapeutic to be a part of. And it's very, very rare in our society today. We're moving away from each other so rapidly today in the very few little time that people have left after working a full day and being exhausted. And also, I think that people are lacking in the skills to communicate to each other. Today in my class at Essex County College, we read an excerpt from Carl Rogers' book on becoming a person, where he talks about how when you have open dialogue, you become more flexible, you grow, especially when there's a lot of deep listening. And I feel that this group exemplifies that very, very well. And I hope that others watching this would be inspired to maybe start your own groups. And if you need any help in getting that going, you can certainly reach out to me. I'd be happy to help and be an advisor for that. And also, I want to show you a book by Martin Buber called Between Man and Man. Martin Buber is the great philosopher and theologian of dialogue. He really is a very important thinker, one of the great thinkers of the 20th century. And I just want to read just a few brief excerpts of what Buber has to say about dialogue, the importance of dialogue. One thing he says, that God is found in the particulars of community, in our human situation of being turned to one another. So Buber is a religious thinker, but he doesn't think that God is up there in some white robe, with a long beard, looking down, ready to throw a thunderbolt down at us. He thinks that God is in the everyday, in the particulars of community. And when we approach another human being and we get into a discussion with them and get to learn who they are, that is sacred. That is God is showing us a glimpse in the everyday situations of our lives. And just a few other quick quotes from Buber. He says, only in dialogue will genuine common life appear. Only in dialogue will genuine common life appear. And, this is a beautiful quote. In the house of speech are many mansions. In the house of speech are many mansions. He talks about moments that penetrate our armor and stir our soul to sensibility. So dialogue is a process. I notice with my students, many of them have to learn the process, and all of us can learn how to be in dialogue better and not jump to conclusions. I think our country now has become polarized between the left and the right. We don't even listen to each other anymore. We shout at each other if you watch the mainstream media talk shows. So I think what we really do have to do is get back to each other, get back to basic, simple conversations, and, like neighbors over the backyard fence. And also talking about the problems that are happening in our world. Now, Don Schmall is still a member of our group, but he wasn't at the party. And Don has done some amazing work on the voter fraud issue. And I want to acknowledge and recognize Don. And our good friend Andrew, also, who passed away, was a very integral part of the beginning of our group in the first 5 or 6 years of our development. And he was a dear person, and we cherish him and we love him and his memory. And John Yancey is very much an active part of the group. He makes it when he can. He can't always make it, but when he does, he's there. And I want to just give a shout out to John Yancey as well. And all this wonderful group of people who we love. And Jean Schaefer, who recently moved to Pennsylvania, who's originally from Boston, who planted a tree when she taught math at the high school that was featured in the TV series about a high school up in Boston that was very popular a few years ago. If you ever watch reruns of that and you see the tree in front, Jean planted that tree. And also our member Deborah Lewis, she was the art teacher at PS 41, a very, very wonderful school in the village. And when she was the art teacher there, her students made these beautiful murals which can be seen at the Christopher Street stop, and they're on Greenwich Village in its heyday. And they feature people like Thomas Paine and activists who were very important in the village, and Mabel Dodge, who had a salon there, and we have a salon with our TV show. So whenever I pass by the subway at Christopher Street, I think of Deborah, because her and her students made these wonderful, wonderful murals. And she also made the beautiful painting that you saw, which is of us sitting around the table at the diner. All of us have our initials there. So thank you all for watching our show and being a part of this. I hope that you will turn to each other, maybe sitting next to each other on a couch now, and have a discussion about what you thought about the show. I hope maybe you'll send us an email. Maybe we can go for coffee. Maybe you can be a part of the show going forward. And we really have to create a world that is more kind and caring and more peaceful. I thank you for watching. Again, this is the Public Voice Salon. Have a wonderful night.